special for you? Two students? Both are equally intelligent, both are equally hardworking, but only one stands out and can speak English with confidence. Now tell me, who will walk through the doors of opportunity in the global job market and who will be left standing outside? Yes, that silence you feel right now, that is the gap between potential and opportunity. Because language is not just grammar, it's not just vocabulary. Language is access, it's confidence, and it's an opportunity. So, good day everyone, I am INTAN and I'll be your moderator for today's conversation. Welcome to Voices Across Borders, where we explore how education shapes the future of youth. Joining me today are two incredible voices. First, AMERA, our speaker one, who will share her perspective on how bilingualism shapes opportunities and challenges for Malaysian youth. And second, NABILAH, our speaker two, who will dive into why language mastery matters for educators, policymakers, and students alike. So let's start. Let's begin with Hanan. Why should young people and educators care about this issue?
Alright, thank you, INTAN. As we can see, our audience is made up of many different groups such as TESOL students, Malaysian youth, policymakers, and educators. Each of them looks at language from a different angle, but the impact is still the same. TESOL students think about how to learn English effectively, like reading, speaking, writing, and listening. While policymakers, they focus on how bilingualism strengthens national identity and also making Malaysia more competitive globally. The educators see the classroom where strong bilingual skills help students to understand lecture, engage with text, and express themselves clearly. Even though the perspectives are different, but the impact is still the same. While bilingual proficiency can create opportunity, it improves academic success, support employability, and help Malaysia grow stronger in the international community. Without it, students risk being left behind, but with it, they gain the power to connect, to compete, and to contribute. That's why this issue matters, because when we talk about language, we are not only talking about language, but we are actually talking about future. Whether young people can step forward with confidence, or whether they can held back by something as simple yet as powerful as access to language.
Thank you, Hanan. That was powerful. You have just reminded us that language is not just a subject in school. It's definitely a bridge to a brighter future. So let me highlight what you have just said. So TESOL students see language as a teaching tool. You see it as confidence and employability. And policymakers see it as national strength. And also, educators see it as classroom success. Is it, Hanan?
Yes.
Yes. You say everything about very different perspectives, but I understood one truth, which is bilingualism creates opportunity. And that is the heart of this conversation for today. Language is not just about exams, it's about futures. So now, AMERA, I have a question for you. Let me ask you this. Do you think bilingualism gives urban students an unfair advantage?
Yes, absolutely, INTAN. I believe bilingualism is particularly strong English exposure that gives urban students a structural advantage. Why I say this? Because this is not about individual ability, but about the environment that they are living in. And also, as we know, In urban settings, English is integrated in daily life, such as through media, which is media social, such as Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. And for public spaces, like in a mall or even a cafe, if they want to purchase something or ask for an offer, they will use English instead of Malay, right?
Yes.
And not forgetting about the social interaction that making it a live language rather than merely an academic subject. However, for many rural students out there, English remains confined to the classroom. And also, we can see that there is a limited exposure, fewer resources, and not forgetting about reduced opportunities for authentic communication restraint, not only skill skill development, but also confidence. So they don't have the strong confidence to speak in English because somehow they are afraid to be judged by others, right? So I want to share a little bit of my experience as a rural student, which is I rarely speak in English because I surrounded by the people and community who are only speak in Malay and Java. So somehow, actually, if I want to speak English, I will practice with my sisters. As for me, I believe that confidence is cumulative. It grows through repeated use. So here, the issue is not about intelligence, but it's all about an access. So, and that access gap does not just affect ability, it shapes opportunity, mobility, and also the belief in one's own competitiveness. Also, so for rural students who don't get enough English practice, so as for me, they may struggle to land a good jobs out there because especially in the companies in a city. Because as we know, English is really essential right now, right? So from here, anyone who wants to get a job in a big city, they need to be master in English or they will be able to speak English well. So because maybe they will having maybe like a interaction or maybe something meeting with the clients, with other clients. That's right. So without strong English skills, their career options will become limited and earning potential. So, and I believe it will lead to the effect, confidence, motivation, and also the belief that they can succeed on a larger stage.
Thank you, Amira. That really hits home. I understand what you have just experienced, and if I may share something personal, I want to share about when I grew up. I grew up in urban environment. For me, English was everywhere. It was in the movies I watched, in the music I listened to, even in the way my teachers encouraged us to speak in class every day. So because of that, I never really thought twice about using English. It felt really natural, almost effortless, I can say. But when I meet friends from rural areas, I realize their experience is completely a bit different from us. For them, English can feel intimidating, like maybe a spotlight that will expose every of their mistake if they're using English to speak. That contrast makes me think it's not about intelligence, it's about access. Because urban students like me had the privilege of constant exposure, while others had to fight harder for the same confidence as us. And that is why that is why this conversation matters, because language should empower every student, not just those who happen to grow up in the right environment, right?
Yes.
So when we talk about language, we are really talking about equality. Equality of access, equality of opportunity, equality of voice. So when equality is missing, language becomes not just a skill, but a dividing line. Like there's a big wall dividing us into two groups where one student cannot speak and one can speak clearly. So, yeah. Alright, now we move to the next segment, facts and statistics. Let's look at some evidence. I will read for you guys a reference. So, according to the Ministry of Education Malaysia, there is still widening gap in English mastery between rural and urban students. So this shows that exposure and environment really matter when it comes to language learning. At the same time, global data highlighted by the World Bank shows that English proficiency is more than just a classroom skill. It directly increases employability and earning potential in international markets. And recent studies also show that Malaysia has overtaken the Philippines to become the country with the highest English proficiency in Asia, according to the EAF English Proficiency Index. So this proves that while challenge remains locally, Malaysia is still making strong progress on the global stage. So right now, I will ask some questions for Hanan. How do these statistics affect youth confidence?
Thank you, Intan. That's actually a really important question. When students look at the statistics from the Ministry of Education, they start to realize that English isn't just a subject at school, but actually more like a passport they can use to take their places. The data really shows the gap between rural and urban students, and this reminds us that environment and exposure do matter. Like urban students usually get more chances to practice. Like one example I can give to compare Book at AMERA to Sunway University at Kuala Lumpur. At Sunway, students often interact with international peers, attend lectures fully in English. But at UC, majority of the students are from rural backgrounds where Malay is more dominant. So they rely less on English outside the classes. They are more focused on the classes and also on the English outside. But it's like, can you compare that? Can you imagine you want to learn to swim in an Olympic-sized pool compared to the pool like in your home? The exposure and the space and exposure, it's me how far you can move mobility and you can be more better in it. So the environment decides how much practice you can get, and that shapes confidence and proficiency.
Wow, I couldn't agree more with what Hanan just said, because I want to share some fact that the MEP annual report 2022, if I'm not mistaken, makes this so clear urban students are showing stronger comprehension in maybe listening and also in reading as well. Okay, as we can see, and that isn't just about ability itself, it's about analysis. These numbers actually for me highlight how exposure shapes the opportunity. For me, for the urban student, of course, the advantage in English often builds maybe a confidence, right? Confidence and opens door. But for rural students, the same statistic can feel discouraging because they are reminded they are competing, but only with weaker skills, but also with reduced confidence. Okay, so I think when the young people like us realize that English proficiency is directly tied to employability, to income, and change the way they see the subject, which is English, and also it becomes a strategic skill, almost symbolic of opportunity itself. So that's why these statistics matter. They don't just measure comprehension, but also they influence how all students perceive their own potential in global context. That's all from me.
True, Amira. I like how you put it together. English is not really about exams. It's about what you say, confidence and opportunity.
Yes.
But here's the thing, Amira. I would say some students may feel shy or even embarrassed when they try to speak in English. So how do we help them flip that mindset and they feel less scary and more like a skill they can own? So this time I want to ask Hanan to answer this.
Yeah, actually, I live in Malaysia. Actually, confidence comes from practice and encouragement. If teachers are able to create safe spaces for students, they will feel less judged and more ready to try. Actually, there are research from Ministry of Education's English Language Roadmap shows that students improve foster when they are given consistent opportunities to learn English and in supportive environment. For example, urban students often gain more confidence because they hear and use English more frequently in their daily life. But while rural students, they may feel shy due to limited practice. I think teachers itself can use small discussions or like role plays or peer feedback activities where mistakes seen as a part of learning instead of something to be embarrassed about. And in my opinion, being fluent in English gives students relatable advantages such as they can watch their favorite English movies without using subtitles. You know the feeling of watching English without using subtitles. And also they can connect with their online friends from different countries. And they can access wider range of knowledge and also resources.
I think Hanan is right that this issue is not only about language, it's also about psychology and structure. But I believe there are ways to help students slowly build their confidence. It really comes down to practice and encouragement. When teachers create a safe space, like you say, where mistakes are seen as part of learning, students feel less judged and more willing to try. Yeah, activities like a small group discussions, role plays, or peer feedback can make English practice feel less intimidating. And when students start to see English as something they can actually enjoy, like you say, watching movies without subtitles, chatting with friends from other countries, and exploring new ideas online, they begin to feel more motivated, I believe. So over time, the fear of making mistakes fades and English becomes less of a burden and more of a skill that opens doors in everyday life for them.
So what I could see is unequal access create frustration for some students in school. So personally, in my opinion, the rural students, which is like me especially, may feel left behind, and that frustration actually can lead gradually turn into what do you call resistance? Yeah, resistance. Yeah. We also need to acknowledge the emotional impact of the gap actually. Okay, so when students compare themselves to their urban peers, especially through social media, and they may internalize insecurity, or maybe they will questioning their ability in English. Maybe they will be like, why I can't be good in English like them? So this actually rather than recognize the lack of exposure and support, and yeah, this will affect some esteem. Some students will feel like withdraw, avoid participation, and develop what we call it anxiety around speaking English. And also that anxiety actually extends beyond the classroom and influencing interviews, scholarship, and the future opportunities especially. So this is actually not only English is actually a psychological and structural issue that shapes confidence and long-term mobility.
Yes, I get what you're saying. Psychological and structural issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, language is not just about English. It's about how students feel inside. That frustration and insecurity can really hurt their confidence. And once confidence drops, it affects almost everything, even their future chances. And you are right. This is not only a language issue, it's also emotional too. Alright, we have talked about the problems and challenges, etc. Now let's think about solutions. What can we actually do to make things better? What do you think, Amira?
Wow, I love this question actually. For me, the solution that is more urgent is digital access for rural schools especially. So growing up in a rural area, of course, I often felt our classroom was isolated, cut off from the wider network of learning. So actually with the reliable internet, we miss out on online competition, share projects, and even simple interaction with other schools. So that is so sad actually, and that's why that gap wasn't just technical; it shaped our confidence and opportunities. So while others advance with modern tools, But we in school improvise, writing notes, or waiting for outdated materials. So by expanding digital access, changes that narrative. It actually transform isolation into interaction with other school, especially. So giving rural students equal footing to connect, collaborate, and dream beyond their geography. So when we talk about education reform, this actually isn't just about wires and devices. It's all about equity, dignity, and the chance for every student in school to belong in the same conversation. So Hanan, I want to ask you, I think you may have any suggestion towards this issue, right? Because you used to be a teacher before.
Alright, thank you, Amira. Actually, I couldn't agree more with your point. It really shows how much access can change everything, right? Okay, so me as a person who already have been in the teaching field, I think many students feel embarrassed because they are afraid of being judged or being laughed when they are making mistakes. I've seen it myself because I also a student. I also sometimes when I try to speak, I stop halfway because I don't feel confident. And that's what I believe. Confidence comes from practice and encouragement. If teachers can create safe spaces, students will feel less judged and more willing to try. One way to do this is using integrated skill learning, like when we practice learning, when we practice reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and together it feels like more natural. And just like how we use Malay in our daily life.
I think we are on the same page, Hanan. When you say students often feel afraid to make mistakes in English, right? So actually confidence here, we can see it's the heart of learning, and for me, another big piece of the puzzle is the teacher training itself. So teachers are the backbone of every classroom in the school. So especially in school, we can see that many veteran teachers bring incredible wisdom and experience. But sometimes they are less engaged with new technology right now, right? And that creates a gap. So because students now they live in a digital world. So if the teachers are not comfortable with digital tools, it will limit how much the students can explore, connect, and grow. Actually, I've seen this in myself, where some teachers guided us beautifully, but hesitate with technology, and that hesitation held us back. So that is why training isn't just about refreshing our methods, but actually it's about helping the teachers, maybe new or old teachers, to adapt, giving them confidence to use technology and showing them how these tools can learn and teaching easier and more impactful. And also, I believe that when teachers grow, students grow as well. And when the teachers embrace the technology, they don't lose their, say, experience. Experience, but they amplify it. So for me, that's the kind of training improvement that we need in Malaysia. One that respects the teachers' rights, but also pushes them to change, lead the teacher. And when teachers feel more confident, so the student will feel confident as well. That is how the classroom becomes places where everyone can grow together. So, Hanan, do you have any other suggestion or solution?
As I wanted to add, another way is to build a safe classroom. This, like how I said this before this. In my opinion, this is really important because many students feel shy or embarrassed when they make mistakes. There is a psychologist. Do you know Horwitz? Horwitz, yeah. Horwitz. He is the first to introduce the concept of foreign language classroom anxiety, FLCA, which is showing that students often feel nervous or judged or blocked when speaking a second language. This is called language anxiety. This anxiety can block their ability to speak, even if they know what they want to speak and they already have the words. But when teachers can create a supportive environment, the opposite will happen, which is the student feel what psychologists call positive reinforcement. So every time they try and to receive encouragement, instead of criticism from their ability to speak, their brain will connect with English practice with safety and success. Over the time, this can reduce fear and builds their self-efficiency, which is also they can believe that I can do this, I can speak in English. So in my opinion also, once students develop this belief, they will stop seeing mistakes as a failure. Instead, they see it as a part of their growth. So that's how their embarrassment will slowly fade, and then their confidence will take the pieces.
Thank you, Hanan, for sharing that perspective. I really like how you highlighted the importance of integrated skill learning and creating safe spaces, because it reminds me that confidence doesn't grow overnight. It definitely grows when students feel supported or like emotionally supported. And Amira, you mentioned earlier about teacher training, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's another crucial piece of the puzzle, that teachers really are the backbone of the classroom, say.
Yeah.
And when they feel confident, students feel confident as well.
Yeah.
So in the end, the message is simple. Change must happen both in the classroom and at the policy level. So teachers need the right training to adapt with technology. And policies must support that growth. When these two sides work together, students benefit the most. That's how we move forward. Alright, finally, we are here at our last segment, right?
Yeah.
You know, looking back at everything we have shared today, it really connects like pieces of puzzle. We started with the big picture, like how language is more than grammar, it's confidence and opportunity. Then we heard about why it matters to different people. Like you say, students, teachers, policymakers, even the nation as a whole. We dug into the facts and statistics, and they showed us that clearly the environment and exposure shape confidence. And of course, we talk about the emotional side, how embarrassment, frustration, or inequality can hold students back. Finally, we explore solutions from digital access to teacher training to building safe classrooms where mistakes are part of growth. So, if I sum it up in a simple way, language is about futures. It's about whether students feel brave enough to step forward, whether they see English as a wall or a ladder. And honestly, it's about equality. Like giving every student the same chance to shine no matter where they come from. And here's the friendly reminder. I want to leave you with confidence in language doesn't grow overnight, but it does grow with practice, encouragement, and support. Just like talking to a friend, the more you do it, the easier you feel. Thank you for being part of Voices Across Borders. Let's keep these conversations alive, and let's keep building futures where every voice matters and every student feels like they belong in the global story. So that is all from us. Thank you. Bye bye.